What's going on, G-Ballers? We're taking a look at a new knife coming in from Real Steel. I've actually been carrying and using this knife for the last couple of weeks, and I'm really excited to talk to you about it. If this is your first time stopping by, welcome to GBall Vision. Drop a comment below. Let me know what your EDC is. The knife we are taking a look at is the Real Steel Griffin Ultimatum. This is going to be based off their Griffin Pro, a Carson design, but the Ultimatum here is going to have a completely new outfit. We are going to be looking at a retail price of $275. Now, I do have a discount code for Real Steel's website that'll knock a few dollars off. There's a very good reason that this knife is at that price point. We are going to be looking at VanX Super Clean for the blade steel. The first time Real Steel has ever used VanX, and I am a big fan of VanX. It is a top 5 steel for me personally. Beautiful satin finish on that drop point blade. They also have a stonewash variant as well. We're looking at a cutout for the deployment. A nice 50-50 area here, sharpening choil area. You'll get a nice edge life out of this blade. We are going to be looking at a robust button plunge lock system here. It is done very nicely. This thing is locked up rock solid. You also have a secondary lock here, and that is on a detent system. Although I'm not the biggest fan of these secondary locks, I understand the idea and premise behind them. They are not for right-handed users. They are actually for lefties to help them not push in the button when they are using the knife. A right-handed person can really avoid that entire area. If you have any brains in your skull at all, you can. But a lefty is going to be right over top of that button. Now, I'm going to deactivate that secondary lock, and you're not going to just slide that up and down. That is on a strong detent system, so it's going to require that you push and pull that tab up and down. Using this knife as a lefty, you would have to deliberately push on that button. You're just not going to do it. You're not going to do it. And, you know, if you have a little bit of skill, you can grip this knife and still avoid that area anyway. I cut a lot of stuff left-handed, believe it or not, and never have I had an issue with any type of button disengaging lock. But if you are worried about it, Carson designed this in such a way that you have that secondary lock. Use it or don't use it. We are going to be looking at some beautiful textured titanium handles here, chamfered and softened all the way around. And then we are going to be looking at a milled titanium pocket clip. A little bit of wear and tear on it. As I said, I've been carrying and using this for as much as I have been carrying and using this knife. It actually looks very good. Now, this is going to be right-hand carry only. It is what it is. It sucks for the lefties out there, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Now, if you're not familiar with the Griffin series, we'll get a measurement here on this bad boy. And we are going to be looking at 8 3/16 overall. We have 3 and just shy of 3 1/4. I'll say 3.2. Give it 3 3/16 of cutting edge and 3 5/8 of total blade. We have a couple of comparison knives here. We have the Spyderco Para 3 up top and the Kaiser Drop Bear on the bottom. We have the Vosteed Raccoon and the Kaiser Militaw. We'll do a couple of Real Steel knives here. We have the Sylph, which is a all-time favorite budget knife for me. Nitro V, double stacked steel handle. And then we have the Griffin Pro here. So this is the same exact knife, but with a full dress variant. Now, this is a really nice version here as well. Beautiful blue micarta handles. We are going to be looking at 14C with a nice stonewash blade. Really like this budget design. I think these come in right around the $55, $60 price point. We have a lower mounted pocket clip, right hand carry only. Excellent, excellent design from Carson Knives. Love his stuff. We'll do the Real Steel Evolution, which is just one of my all-time favorite Real Steel knives, maybe my favorite of all time. And this is a big boy, and that gives you some idea on the Griffin Ultimatum here. It is a really good size. Our 50 ways baked in Hank out here, and we'll see what this pocket clip looks like in the pocket. And I can tell you just from carrying it, the knife does hold it well in the pocket because of that texturing. It hasn't been like a pocket shredder, but it will hold the knife in there pretty well. It looks clean. I could do without the real steel there on the clip, but it does look good. And, you know, it looks good, but I'm just not a big fan of a ton of branding. And this carries almost perfectly for me. You have a hidden screw here, just enough poking out that you can get a good, secure grip on this thing as you pull it out of the pocket. And it has very good spring to it. No complaints with the pocket clip. You could say that they could have smoothed down the area directly underneath where it meets the scale, but like I said, it hasn't been a pocket shredder, and I've carried this in some thick seamed pants and haven't had any issues. So I do, however, wish that we had the option for lefty carry, included some sort of filler tab to go with the flow of the handle. That way lefties and righties could carry it. We'll grab the scale here and we'll give this knife a weight check. Now, I guess the weight of the new knives that come into the channel, I invite you to play along. Put your guess down in the comments. Let me know what you think this guy weighs in at. I'm going to give it a go here, and I'm going to say it definitely feels very familiar. I'm going to say 3.7. That's what it feels like. 3.7. Oh, 3.8 and 108 grams. Get the calipers out and we'll get a couple of measurements on the handle and blade here. 0.49 for our handle thickness, 12.4 millimeters will go to the blade stock, 3.4 millimeters, and 135 thousandths. So it's got a decently robust blade stock. It's a nice chunk of Vanex for sure. We'll get a measurement behind the edge, try to get a good hold, a good spot. 20 thousandths on the nose and 0.48 millimeters. Let's see how this thing is still cutting. Use our standard catalog paper here, April of 2022, a couple years old. This thing cuts masterfully though. If you didn't know, SRM is the OEM behind Real Steel, and they do a superb job on the things that actually matter. One of them being edges out of the box. I, for several years, have believed, and there's others out there as well who will say the same thing, but some of the best factory edges per dollar come out of SRM. They shoot way above their price tag in regards to their QC, how they do their edges. This thing is just beautifully sharp, and I have quite a bit of experience with Vanex at this point. And, you know, whether it's from Kunwu or Quiet Carry, I have a lot of experience with Vanex steel at this point. I've been carrying a Quiet Carry fixed blade in Vanex for, I don't know if it's been all year, I'd have to look, but for many, many months, I've been carrying a Vanex Quiet Carry fixed blade. And I can tell you with, you know, I don't have any machines, but just based on use and based on how I've stropped this one time in about 4 or 5 weeks, and that is the result of just, you know, a couple minutes each side, if that, on the strop. And it acts exactly like, if not better than Quiet Carry's Vanex. That's just based on one example here, and over the course of a few weeks, it is very similar. You know, it's either just below, equal to, or just above. It's somewhere in that area, which is a really good thing. I love to see other companies using VanEck. We don't get to see it very often. It's a little bit more prevalent now than it was a couple years ago, but still not very commonplace. So I love that Real Steel is picking it up. I hope SRM does as well. They don't typically put out a bunch of expensive knives or very many expensive knives at all, but I think that will change here in the future for SRM. I think they will start to put out some more expensive knives under their own company, right? They have some of the best edges out of the box that you can get your hands on, and it doesn't matter whether it's a $30 SRM or Real Steel or a $300 SRM or Real Steel. You're going to get a very good edge. Jimping right here, not a ton of it, but it works really nice for just your standard grip. It is sharp, so it's not overly sharp to where it's going to hurt your whittle fingies, but it does provide a nice grip there. The last thing we need to answer is how this lock is going to hold up. So we will grab the old spine whacker off the toolbox here. We are still perfectly centered up after weeks and weeks. I have not messed with any of the hardware or anything like that. This is as it has come out of the box. I haven't even touched the pivot. So let's see. Do we have any up and down? Maybe a slight hint of up and down. And no side to side. And a slight hint of up and down is nothing to worry about. It is very typical of these kind of bar locks like this. But let's see how this fares. I've already given it a couple of tests off camera, and it is going to be good to go. For a plunge lock, guys, there's only maybe 1 to 2 other button plunge locks that sound like that. And they're both from Hogue. So, and they're both that button plunge locks that have never failed me. So very impressive. You know, button locks have gotten kind of a bad rep or stigma over them, but I'm telling you that compared to a couple of years ago, for the guys who were around then, these are head and shoulders above any type of button plunge lock that came out, you know, anytime 2 years and beyond or a year and beyond. The action is just excellent. It feels like a real detent or damn close to a real detent, and a real strong one at that. Don't know how they're quite accomplishing that strong of a feel with these. You know, they're using strong springs, but man, do they have that dialed to perfection. You can just see, hopefully it translates through the video, but you can just see this thing just rocket out of there. You can get a hell of a wind up, and you have that strong lockup as I just demonstrated. And we also have a nice large stop pin in there. So a pretty robust system. The only thing that I would like changed on this knife, aside from the pocket clip being able to be mounted on the left side, is I wish this had a backspacer in here, even like a half-length backspacer from here to here. That would have really sealed this in. And one thing SRM and Real Steel are known for is their backspacers, their full-length backspacers, and their integral frames. I was really surprised that they didn't incorporate a matching titanium backspacer in here. It would have gave the knife a little bit more heft even, and maybe that's why they didn't do it. It would have, you know, bumped it up probably 0.3 or so, depending on the size and length. But I think that would have aesthetically really sealed this thing up nicely. and it would have added a little bit more heft, which I would prefer. But other than that, and that's not a detriment to the knife or anything like that, it is still very comfortable to use this knife, carry this knife. Big fan of the Griffin series. You'll have to let me know, what do you think of the Griffin series, the Griffin Ultimatum? I look forward to hearing from you. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. I always appreciate it. If you want to continue to see daily knife and EDC content, make sure you're subscribed. I'll pop up a couple of new videos. Go check one of them out. Have yourself an awesome day. Thank you all again for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.